Okay, let's go.
Okay, thank you. So I'm from the University Department of Electronic Engineering, on behalf of myself and Christine Kelly. I'm going to present to you today a UniDoodle, which is a new novel student response system, and it's evaluation in a first year engineering class, all of which is explained as we're going through. So quickly, I'm going to just give you a very quick introduction to student response systems in case you're not familiar with them. I'm going to outline why we chose to create our own and what key features are involved in that. I'm going to show you the evaluation of it, which leads to student staff feedback. And if we have time at the end, I'm going to give you a very quick demo of the system in operation. So, just to say up front, the project was funded by National Forum of Enhancement Teaching and Learning, so we're very grateful of all such funding. Student response systems, the most commonly used today is clickers, but they come under very many disguises, from voting machines, audio response technology, classroom response, and so on. And they all form the same basic idea. So the students have what we call transmitters or clickers in the classroom. They can transmit a response to a question that the lecturer poses in class. Generally the way it works is the lecturer may have something like PowerPoint, they'll set up a question, put it on the screen, and then they get the students, please select the appropriate answer, and the students will select any number of answers from A, B, C, D, and you can see the typical setup here, you have the numbers or you have the letters. And then the lecturer gets a number of students with the varied answers and gets an idea of whether the students are following the information or not. And there's a lot of research literature out there about the potential benefits of using such systems. I'm not going to go into that today. I'm more interested in the system itself and the problem with it. And the problem for me as an engineer or anyone in the STEM disciplines is that it lacks a flexible input. And what I mean by that is it only allows the students to choose a multi-choice selection, A, B, C, or D. 1, 2, 3, or 4. In some cases you can enter a text or a numerical value, but that's it. You can't enter an equation. You can't enter a graph. You can't annotate a graph. You can't add a Venn diagram. And for engineering in particular, and any of the science or STEM related subjects, it's the methodology, it's how you solve the problem that's important, not so much the final answer. And if you just give the students 4 final answers, pick one, and they get the wrong answer, all you know is they got the wrong answer, but you don't know how they got the wrong answer. Was it a simple genuine mistake, or what information is lost there? But if we can capture the methodology, then we have a lot deeper insight to it. So, not ideal for STEM disciplines. The other side effect of this, which I'm not really interested in, but it's part of it, is if we don't make the students buy one, then we have to bring them to class, and so there's a portability issue there. And even if we do make the students buy one, that's a guarantee they will bring it to class each time. So we came up with UniDoodle, which is a student response system that offers exactly what we wanted to do, which is a flexible input in the form of sketches. It builds on previous work we've done in this area. We just added a lot more new features, and we've made it cross-platform, and I'm going to highlight those as we go through it. So to summarize this pretty quickly, because I do want to show you a demo of this working. There's 3 main features to it. There's the student app, there's the lecture application, and then there's the cloud service which communicates the two together. So the student app is pretty much as you see it there. It's a basic sketch ability, and the students can sketch their answer in any form that you like. The question there is on the left-hand side, which we'll talk a bit more about later, and the answer on the right-hand side is just one sketched by the student in class. There's the lecture app. The lecture app gathers all that information, but we have to gather it in such a way that we can very quickly go through it. And as anyone who's used to setting problems, you're always looking for standard answers and standard mistakes. They always make the same mistakes. So it's actually, even though there's a lot of information in it, it's very easy for me to go through that and very quickly filter out what the common mistakes are and show it to the student. Yeah, 3 or 4 years have made exactly the same mistake I make every year, but I can visually show them that mistake and they can see it for themselves rather than me telling them. So that's the viewing view. I can go into edit it, so if I select any of those images and hit the right key. One thing I'm going to draw your attention to, a new feature, this was feedback from the first edition, was a filter function. And the reason for the filter function is if you're using this at any other level, or any level, there's always certain students who like to have fun, and they may send in appropriate images or whatever. We have a filter sketch option, so before this is transmitted on the screen, I can click on filter sketch, delete whatever ones I don't want, and then put it back on the screen, so the students will never get to worry about it. And you only have to do that once. Because once the students know it doesn't go onto the screen, they don't do it again. Generally not a problem, but we have it there as a precaution because it does happen once in a while. So we can click on any of those images, and when we click on it then we have the editing view. So I've selected an answer I want to talk more about to the students. I have all the other answers here in the scrollable bar, and I have the original question there for reference if we need to. And on the right there, I've corrected it so I can edit it, and I can send that information back to the students for them to see on their own devices if they wish to do so. Another new feature UniDoodle then, what we've done more is, up to that was a basic functionality of just communication 1 to 2, but now we've expanded a lot on the lecture side, so what we've done is we've allowed 2 main functionalities. So first of all, we can create templates in advance of the class. So I can prepare questions, have them stored, and this is a management facility for storing that. So in my case, I have 2 modules, E114, E211, and I can develop questions suited for each, have them pre-stored in the system, and then when I go into class I can pick which one I want to use and have my selection of questions there. So if I go into E114, for example, there's a selection of questions that are pre-prepared. So when I'm in class, I'm doing my lecture, I can go open this here and say, okay, I'm going to ask you today about this particular question here, and I have a range of style of questions, whatever pretty much I want to do. You'll notice one particular question on the right there in bacteria is quite neat and tidy, and the reason for that is the second feature we've allowed for is we allow questions now to be created in Word diagram, in PowerPoint, in any draw package, saved as a JPEG, and it can be uploaded to the system. So we've developed a website which is unique to UniDoodle, and it's called UniDoodle Uploader, and it allows me to go to my PC and upload an image to the database. So I can create a very detailed sketch. Now this is really good for something in biology or chemistry, where you want to get a cross-section or a heart or a lungs or whatever, and you want it annotated, you can put in the diagram, send it to the screen, and then they can write on top of that and point out different things. So you can make a very detailed sketch and make it available. And then the only other thing to say is the Google App Engine is the current cloud service we use, and that's just, there was no reason for it, we just chose it was free initially as a trial period, but we stuck with sticking with it. It acts as the communication between the student and the lecture app. It works over Wi-Fi, and we do depend on Wi-Fi, but the good thing about it, we can use this in remote classes as well, because we had an instance, a demo 2 years ago, or a year ago, where we had a lecture in DCU teaching students a minute, and they were reacting through this. And it's no slower, because you're still going through the Wi-Fi, so whether the students are in class or in a different part of Ireland or England, it makes no difference. It's now available for iOS and Android-based systems, and we're hoping to have a Windows-based by the end of the summer. If you are interested, please keep an eye on unidoodle.com, because we are hoping to go down the route of marketing at some point, and we do have trial versions available for anyone who's interested to use it. Go on there, give us an email, and we can set you up with a trial version, no problem at all. We'll be interested in getting feedback on it, absolutely. In terms of evaluation, what I did, which again was unique, as before this, we'd just done it in trial situations, ones off. But last semester, this current semester I should say, I applied it in a classroom environment in a proper manner. And what I mean by that is we actually revamped the entire course, and I took a complete module, and what we did was we split the lecture into 2. So the first half an hour lecture was the contents of a particular topic or subtopic, and the second half an hour was, right, we're going to now use UniDoodle. I'm going to give you a series of questions on what we've just covered. So reinforcement of the information. And that was done for the entire semester. It's not just a once-off, it's not how does it, because the problem with a once-off is students always like new stuff. No matter what it is, how good or bad it is, it's new, it's different, great, it's exciting. When you're doing it for 24 lectures, at the end of it, they may not be as happy about it. So it's more interesting to see at the end of the semester, did you really like this, and did you find any benefit from it? So feedback was collected by 2 ways, paper survey, and in a focus group that was chaired by an independent facilitator, and that was more beneficial because you get, their opinions and thoughts. And I'm just going to go through these quite quickly. So the student feedback, well, they all like the fact that it's an anonymous system, which is a given. That's one of the main things that comes out of the literature survey. They're more free to answer. And I think the last statement sums it up. It took away the fear of being wrong publicly. And that's a well-known fact of using all such response systems. Interestingly, they felt it improved their intention and motivation in class, which was great to see. And there was one person in particular who wanted to listen more, because they knew they were going to get asked questions on it, and they wanted to see their right answer up on the screen. So they put in the effort to listen more, which I thought was fantastic. I didn't even allow for that one, but it was great to see. And they liked the feedback it offered, that lets you know your stuff or you're not. And they liked the fact that it was immediate, which again is standard for most of these systems. They liked the fact that it was specific, so it gave them more in-depth information, and that was about the methodology, or if there was something on the diagram, I could tell them, no, you have the diagram, the arrow's going the wrong way, or this label is in the wrong place. You get a lot more richer information than you can get with just a simple A, B, C, or D. And it's easier to do the questions because you can just give an open-ended question and wait to see what response you're getting. They liked the fact it was formative, and it's always interesting to see that with a lot of other modules as part of your continuous assessment, and this it wasn't, and they appreciate that fact. It meant they were happy to answer, knowing that they weren't going to get penalised for it. And one student felt that it just made the progression easier, and they gave them the opportunity to be wrong, which they appreciate, which again, it's good to see. From my own experience, I found it very beneficial. I'm going to be slightly biased here, I have to say. But I did find it very beneficial for two reasons. One, it broke up the traditional one-way lecture. So now we had half an hour where I was doing a discussion, or delivery of a lecture, and then the other half was a discussion. Give them to answer the questions, look at what they see, and give information. The hardest part for me was having to wait for them to respond. I'm not used to doing that. I'm used to standing and talking, I have to wait now, and that's something you just get used to. It was also great to see, I can always tell them what mistakes they're going to make, but that just flies over their head. By getting them to make the mistakes, visually seeing it for themselves and pointing it out to them was far more beneficial. They could see it straight away and go, oh yeah. And I knew they didn't make it the second time because I can always follow up with a question, and the second time around most of them, if not all of them, would get it. So you can act on the feedback straight away and iron out those issues. I find it particularly enjoyable because, as I said, it was more interactive. It wasn't just me talking all the time, so from my point of view I thought it was good. It was easy to use and manipulate, but then I am part of the development team, so yeah, I found it easy to use. But to be fair, we've had Conor Brennan and DCU using it without any training, and the idea of this is try to make it as intuitive as possible for both students and lecturers, and we've had very little issues. We've never had a problem with the students using it, but then what they have to do is very, very basic, which is sketch only, and from a lecturer's point of view, I give little or no help, and again, there was very little problems. But that is an engineering department being using at the moment. The biggest problem for me, or the biggest issue that I have to deal with, is learning, and this comes with time, what type of questions suit and don't suit. Because you can get some questions, and then when you realise the answer, you come in and you go, okay, that didn't work very well. Because they are working on a smartphone, which is a limited screen size, even though they can zoom in and out on it. It's still a limited size, and you have to kind of work with that. But you learn, and some questions work better than others. I was able to get through the content of the course in time. This was my biggest worry of doing this, is how I'm going to cover 24 lectures in 24 lectures if I'm going to split it up. But the one thing that I discovered helped is by giving out printed notes, which in the past wasn't the case, but is more common now. It gives you a lot more time to talk about stuff in class. So, because you can give them more ownership of what they're going to do. And I was able to cover a topic quickly in half an hour, and I was able to do the entire course in 24 lectures with using UniDoodle for half of it. So I found it actually worked out really well. But it did rely, I think, quite heavily on the printed notes in that case. So, in conclusion, before we just give you a quick demo, hopefully we have enough time, it offers immediate access and a lot richer insight to what the students are being asked to do. It gives effective and informative feedback in a timely manner. It offers ongoing feedback is ongoing to the students because we can follow up questions and iron out any mistakes we made. Using it on a regular basis, it's definitely more interactive, it's definitely more engaging and enjoyable for everybody involved. One thing we do have to be careful of, not a lot we can do about it, students are using their own phones, so there's a temptation to use other apps. But then again, in today's lectures, a lot of people are using laptops. We don't know what they're doing on it as well. So hopefully by at least you're seeing the responses come back and most people are engaged with it. The UniDoodle system can definitely be improved. We're always getting feedback from people who say, well, what about this and what about that? And one of the latest one we got is, can students save their information? They can if they know how to use their devices, but it's not easy. So we're going to look at making that a little neater, because one feedback we got from the student was, I would love to save the feedback that you're giving us. So when I'm editing something, they want to be able to save it. So we're going to allow for that. It does require modification to the traditional approach. If you're going to use this and use it properly, you can't just go into a normal lecture and do it, because it does take time, it does take preparation, and it does take time out of the class. So you need to adjust something to allow for it, but I think it's well worth doing. And arguably, it's a good thing to do it, because for my case, I'm not having a 1 hour lecture one way or the other. It's not very good. I guess we're going to take questions at the end, so I'm just going to give you a very quick demo of the system.
We take questions at the end of the tree,
yeah,
so
yeah,
you have another 5 minutes. Yeah,
that's fine. I went a little quicker than I should, but that's okay. There you go. So hopefully, yeah. No worries. Thank you. So here's the UniDoodle system. This is my virtual screen, so I get to log in. And I'll log in and just show you it works. So there's my setup, and again, this is exactly what I took the screenshots of. I have 4 different folders at the moment. I can create more if I want. All the templates at the top is just simply a record of all your questions. So if you don't want to find out where the question is, you're not sure which one, you can always just go to the top one and you have access to all your questions. But generally I want to be very specific. So I go in to 114, and I'm going to use my phone here as well, just as the student app. So there's the various set of things. Now we do have the multi-choice option at the top there, so that mimics the current setup. So if I want to go back to using clickers and give them multi-choice, we can do that. Select it and they can choose A, B, C or D. It doesn't change anything. We have a default blank canvas, so that's for if I just think, oh, I've got a good question. Blank canvas, I tell the students a question and they can write on it. So it's an open-ended form. And then I have the pre-prepared questions, and again, I'll just take any of them, it doesn't matter, the one I showed you on the screen. So I set it up to the student, it sends it out. And now we're waiting for the number of responses on the right hand side. So if I just go, so the student response came up here. I'm just going to put a scribble in there, send it off to it. And the students can only literally do what you tell them to do. They can't mess around with it. They can only sketch when you give them the question. Once this question is submitted, they have to wait until you give them the feedback or till the next question is posted. So it limits what they can do. We don't want them messing around with it. The one thing we did which they didn't like is we only give them 3 colour options. The first feedback we always get is we want more colours. No, you don't. You just want to mess around with more colours. We just want to answer the question. But there is an argument for more colours in some situations, but at the moment we're limited. So you can see the responses come in. I would need to have more devices for more responses because the student can only submit 1 answer. Now they can update that answer, but it only takes the last recorded answer. So I close the question at the top there, and then you can see 2 questions from there. Someone else has logged on already. Where's Lisa? She's probably doing it on me. And you can see there's 2 different responses. Now at this stage, if I want to filter the sketches, I can just delete that one. That was nice. And I can go back, and then if I connect this back to the screen, I would have disconnected from the screen at this stage. The students now get to see the answers, and we go in then. And we have added in an extra colour for the lecture app. So we have a green, and we can add, and well, if I change it, the green would help. There you go. And then we can send that back to the students if we want. And then when the students get it, they get information, there's feedback available, and then if I just show you forward, they can get the information back on the screen. And that's pretty much how it works in essence. Pretty simplistic and not on purpose, but it gives everything we needed to do. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, well done.